Hi, everybody. Welcome to Positive Reinforcement. This is episode 16? 15. It's either 15 or 16. I honestly can't remember right now because I didn't go back to see what the latest episode was. But it's 15 or 16. Bottom line is, guys, I am here. I am back, and the mid-season premiere starts right now. So, right out of the gate, you might have noticed that I look like a 6-year-old boy, and that's because I shaved my face. This is the very first time I've shaved since 2015, maybe, was the last time I shaved my face completely. I'm feeling it, I'm feeling good. Every time I reach up for my face, I just feel refreshed. So, hey, it's 2020. It's time for a change. Let's do this, right? So welcome back. It's been 3 weeks since the last episode, and I got to tell you guys, I miss it completely. Being gone from the podcast is, I missed it, and I really, really am starting to lean more towards continuing the podcast when I'm on break. It would just have to be from my office at home because I'm obviously not going to come back in here during summer break to do the podcast because no thank you. No teacher wants to be back at the place that they work while they are on free time. And if you are the kind of teacher that likes to just randomly go back to your classroom, I don't want to associate with you, okay? Because that's weird, right? You need to enjoy your time at home while you have it because it goes by like that. Now, usually Christmas break flies by. And this Christmas break, it went by fast. I was enjoying it, but I feel fulfilled, like work was coming back, and usually I'm kind of like, man, I got to go back to work already. But this time I was like, I'm ready. Let's do this. And that's a sign that A, I'm content with life, and B, I love my job, all right? So if you are constantly feeling the stress of I don't want to go, something's not working there, okay? Because, work's work. It sucks. It's work, right? But if the majority of your attitude toward work is, why? I just don't care. If that's you, make some adjustments, because there's got to be something to be able to enjoy when you go to work. Otherwise, why are you even living, Just jump out the window. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Bottom line, try to find a way to get yourself on a path where you're leading to somewhere enjoyable. Otherwise, your days are just wasted, Anyway, that went on a tangent I was not expecting. Looking at my agenda here, I feel like there's something else I want to talk about before I start getting into the meat and potatoes here. But why is it meat and potatoes? Why is that the most important part of the meal? What about your greens? Huh? Broccoli is so good. So good. Oh, you give me some seasoned broccoli just out of the bag? Oof. That is such a 32-year-old thing to be excited about, eating broccoli. But man, I own that stuff, man. I don't think I ever hated broccoli as a kid. I was just like, I'm going to eat this part first, You always eat the least desirable part of your plate of dinner first, because then you get to enjoy the good stuff. It's all good, but you get to enjoy the meat and potatoes, I guess. I guess that's why they call it meat and potatoes, because it's the part everyone looks forward to. I don't know, dude. Talk to Mr. Bacon about the idioms. Is meat and potatoes even an idiom? I don't know anymore. Guys, so much has happened in the last week. I don't even know where to begin. This podcast is probably going to be 3 hours long. There's so much to talk about. So first, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker came out, and didn't love it. Don't absolutely hate it, but I'm definitely more going towards hating it. Star Wars is just a disaster anymore. I mean, besides The Mandalorian, but anyway, just a huge disappointment. Chargers obviously did not get into the playoffs, so there's that. I'm kind of bummed out the Patriots didn't advance. I just want to see Tom Brady just shed those records. Apparently, he's going to come back next year. Will he be a Patriot? Will he not? It's going to be interesting. But biggest thing that has happened is I have my third student teacher of my career. And oh my gosh, you guys, I keep getting blessed with good student teachers. One of these days, one of these years, I'm going to get a student teacher and they are going to literally set my classroom on fire. And you know what? I have to sit back and be like, yeah, that makes sense. Because the 3 student teachers that I've had took care of business. It's the first week isn't even over, and my student teacher right now is taking care of business so hard that it's making me want to up my game. Excuse me a second. Never mind. But yeah, I'm so blessed, so spoiled. Mr. Bacon and I share a student teacher, and that's amazing also because there's this like generational mentorship going on here. Like Mr. Bacon mentored me during BITSA, which is beginning teacher something, but he was my guy during that, and now we're both our student teachers, master teacher. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And when you stay at one place for a long time, those awesome things start to happen. So before you pick, like say you're a new teacher and you have just interviewed with school A, B, and C, before you really pick your destination, please, I hope that number one is, what is my state of mind going to be like at this school? If money's number one, you're living life wrong, okay? If money is your number one, you're going to be sad all the time, all right? If money is number one, you're going to want to jump out the window. If money is number one, you're going to look at that rope. I'm just kidding. Gosh, that's so dark. I'm sorry. I apologize. But you get what I'm trying to say here, right? If money is your number one option, then they're going to run into a lot of problems because, hey, man, it's a tale as old as time. Money does not buy happiness. But I tell you what money does buy, and that's a wave runner. Have you ever seen anybody frown on a wave runner? It's impossible. That's one of Daniel Tosh's jokes. Super good. Anyway, but when you're trying to decide which school am I going to go to, please consider your state of mind first. Are you going to be comfortable? Are you going to be supported by administration? Things like that. Vibes, like sometimes you just walk onto a particular school's campus. I've been on so many high school campuses because of speech and debate all over the state of California. And there are just some high schools where I'm like, oh, no, thank you. For those locally listening right now, Bullard High School, gross. This is not a knock on any of the teachers there or students there, just the school environment itself. It's just a dark, dark feeling. I don't like Bullard High School. Buchanan, ooh, gorgeous vibe. That vibe, I tell you something. That vibe at Buchanan High School, that's a vibe right there. Like, the vibes don't get much better than I almost call it Buchanan. Buchanan High School. Love that, just the feeling of it, especially when the sun's out, like in April, in the middle of the day. It's just, love it here. But I get that feeling here at Sanger too. And I felt that going into my very, very first interview. As soon as I stepped out of my car and walked through the front gate, I was like, yep, good vibes. I like that. So pay attention to those things before you pick a school. Now, I did not intend to talk about that, but it's important because sometimes you'll be lucky enough to have multiple schools giving you a job. and you've got to pick one. So don't let money be the sole decision. Where was I going with that? I don't even remember what I was talking about before this. Oh, maybe my student teacher. She's killing it, taking care of business. Am I bummed out that I've lost my second and third period? Of course I am. Love those guys. The third period, I've got 4 guys. Is it 4 or is it 3? Gilbert, Christian, Jeremy. It's 3. I don't think I'm missing anybody. Yeah, but they all play football, and they all sit right in the front of the class. And every third period, before class started, we just talk football and just cool guys. And anyway, I walked by them. They were going to my class that I wasn't going to be teaching because my student teacher was there. And they're like, Mr. Norris, I miss you, man. And it just tugged at my heartstrings. But it's a balancing act. I'm super, super sad that I don't have those kids anymore. But I'm so, so glad that my student teacher is taking care of business, and she's learning a lot, and she's great. So, it's how it is as a master teacher. All right, so we're 12 minutes in, and I haven't even touched my agenda yet. So I'm going to prioritize these items here and see what I really want to talk about first. Well, it's the new year, so that means resolutions and all that, and it's January 8th, so I'm sure that 60% of people have already given up on resolutions or have just forgotten and are just retreating back to their bad habits. That's how people are, man. So I have yet to... I've got a lot of resolutions this year. First, it's to up my game creatively, and that's both in the classroom and just personally. Speaking of, over Christmas break, I finished the sequel to Copacetic, my short story. And I am so happy with it. Honestly, I am so happy with the way the story goes. And I can't wait for my students to hear it, and I can't wait for other people to hear it who have been following my stories. Absolutely in love with it. So, but you know what? I thought about this the other night, and my next big creative ambition is to somehow, some way connect with a dedicated, hardworking artist. I want to turn my stories, collect them all into one, and make a graphic novel, because I think it is the purest medium for my story. I feel it just has this graphic novel vibe to it. And that is, once it becomes, if it ever does, a graphic novel, then that's going to be its truest form. I've always felt that it lends itself best to the graphic novel medium. And one day, hopefully. So that's my big goal for sure. So with that resolution, I've definitely been on track. Another resolution is getting in shape. Haven't been there. Last night, had giant brownie, and I was just sitting there in a pool of regret. Just here we go. I'm going down this path of depression, eating this giant brownie, and I'm not going to be happy about it afterwards. And that's what happened. I gained about 8 pounds over Christmas break. So starting to, that happens. I talked about this a couple episodes ago, maybe the last episode. Why do our bodies demand food constantly during the winter? I'm never full, you guys. I will eat an entire plate of food, meat and potatoes, and the broccoli. And I will just be I felt like I didn't even eat anything. And I'll make a bowl of cereal, still hungry. Then I'll make a bowl of tuna or something, still hungry. Make a soup, still hungry. It just doesn't end. That, on top of it's Christmas break, I'm sedentary. I'm not walking around anywhere. I'm sitting there writing all day, or I'm sitting there playing video games or whatever. It's just a recipe for disaster. It always happens. So hopefully this podcast right here will be a stark before image. And then the season finale podcast come June, I want to see some results. Guys, I'll admit, it's easy for me to lose weight and get in shape because I never allow myself to get out of hand. Like I said last time, I start feeling that new chin coming in. That's the sign. Like I still got it right now. I can't, got to make sure I got the right angle here. But when I start feeling that excess business going on here, that's my sign. I'm like, all right, got to stop. We got to work on this. So it's never really hard for me to get back into it. Just the hardest part is getting back into it. But once I'm 2 weeks into a diet, we're good, man. Once I'm 2 weeks into a diet, sky's the limit. I can do anything. Oh, you got a Whopper over there? Who cares? Oh, you got a chocolate cake over there? But the first 2 weeks, if you throw a chocolate cake at me the second day of my diet, I'm gonna eat it. If you give me a giant bowl of frosting on the 4th day of my diet, guess where that frosting's going, my man? Right here. If you give me a giant plate of chocolate chip cookies and a huge glass of ice cold milk, it's gone. But 2 weeks into it, you give me any of that stuff, I will kick all the food to the ground and reject it easily. Hardest part is just getting to that 2 week milestone. So anyway, those are my resolutions: getting in shape and continuing my creative ambition. So yeah, it's been a good couple of days back. Every time I'm on a break, and it's been the same way for the last 7 years, I always get super nervous the day before the first day, no matter what. And I don't understand why, because I always show up the next day and I'm there on like 4 hours of sleep because I'm so nervous and anxious that I can't sleep. And I'm standing up there in the front of the class like, why do I do this to myself? I don't get it. I'm here. Everything's cool. Kids are fine. What was there to be nervous about? I don't get it. But it always happens. And I don't know how to fix that. I don't. Maybe my 12th year I'll have it figured out. But for now, nope. Still super nervous. It's good to be back. Here's something I want to talk about. There are some times where I look at a lesson that I'm about to do, and the lesson requires a lot of effort on my part. I'll admit there'll be times where I'm like, oh, I just want to do the easy version of this. And anytime I do that, anytime I give in and I do the easy version of a lesson, at the end of the day, I'm always like, man, I suck. What the hell? That was super boring. That was dull. What's going on here? You got to work for the remember wins. And what I mean by that is you got to try to sidestep the urge to do the easy version of a badass lesson. I've got a lot of great lessons that are memorable. And sometimes, I'll admit, I'll do the easy version some years. And I look back and I think, oh yeah, wait a second. I didn't do the cool version of that lesson. My poor students didn't get the cool version of that. The hell was I thinking, right? You got to work for the remember wins. This is what I mean by that. There will be a day in class where we're talking and a student will say, oh man, remember when Mr. Norris did this? Or remember when we talked about this? Or remember when we had that one discussion about this? And that's what I'm talking about. When you hear students bring up something they remember from your class that they loved, that's why I do this job. You got to be memorable. Don't be that teacher where 10 years from now, your former students will be hanging out with each other and they're like 26, 27 years old, and someone brings up your name and they're like, who? Oh, my gosh. Why do you even exist? You know, like, I never want to be on the receiving end of a who? What? I have failed if I am on the receiving end of a who? Who? Doesn't ring a bell. Mr. Norris? Nah, don't remember. Dagger to my soul. Work for the remember whens. Do the awesome lessons even if you're tired. Do the awesome lessons even if you're just not feeling it. Because once you get into it, you're there. Once you get into it, it's the same thing as being at the end of the 2 weeks trying to get into a diet. You're all there, baby. You're grooving now, right? You're vibing. Push yourself. Do it. Whatever lessons require a lot of energy, do it. Work for the remember whens, because nothing feels better than when students say, remember when we did this? Remember when Mr. Norris said that? Remember when we laughed about this? Remember. Being a teacher is about being memorable. It's education. That's the field, is remembering things, right? People learn at school. It's the career of remembering, people. That's what it's all about. Remember when? That's what this career is. Remember when? This is a random little piece of advice I'd like to share. Doesn't pertain to education specifically. It does, but it's not like, it's a piece of advice that just people should know. The past version of yourself, let me make sure I say this right. The present you, keep the future you in mind all the time. Because present you can make future you either miserable or very, very happy. I use this piece of advice with my students sometimes because I tell them, like, hey, think about the progress you make today, right? You got a due date for a major paper next week. Think about next week you. Is next week you going to be happy with today you and the decision that today you makes? If the answer is no, make the change right now. Predict the future by being the best present you can be. Does that make sense? Because you'll come down the line a week from now, and if present you did not do what you wish, what future you wished present you had done, you're going to be miserable. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but I think you get what I'm trying to say here. Always keep future you in mind because, I mean, no one wants to be constantly regretful, like, oh my gosh, I wish I did this, I wish I did that, I wish I did this. And then all of a sudden you're 86 years old and you're deciding to enroll into college and become a criminology major or whatever, and then all of a sudden, bam, you're dead. You were never able to do what you wanted to do. So always think about future you. Keep future you in mind. It's 25 minutes in already, and there is still so much to say. This agenda throughout the last 3 weeks I was gone, I would constantly come back to it and add. So I got a lot of stuff to talk about for the next few episodes, for sure. So we got some quality content coming. There's a big one right here that I don't want to get to it yet because it's a big one, and we've got 5 minutes left, and I'm not going to be able to talk about it in just 5 minutes. But we'll go ahead and conclude today's episode with this. I just want to say thank you to everybody that has been listening and everybody that has been subscribing. This time 2 years ago, I think I had like 600 subscribers, and I'm now about 40 subscribers away from 2,000. I mean, in the grand scheme of YouTube, it's not really that much, but to me, it's a lot. 2,000 people out of all of my social media accounts, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, MySpace, Open Diary. This is by far the most followers that I have. And YouTube, I feel like, is the hardest because YouTube is harsh. People are just relentless. I posted some comment on it was a video of the Chargers and Patriots playoffs back in 2006, one of the hardest games that any Charger fan could ever see. But I posted a comment like, I don't know if I can watch. The wounds are still too fresh or something like that. And underneath it, I got a comment from some random guy that's just like, hey, like just so vulgar and just so hostile, Like, I don't even know you, man. What are you accomplishing by being so mean to me? YouTube is just relentless. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who has followed the podcast so far. I'm having a super fun time. And you know what? If you have been thinking of starting a podcast for whatever it might be, do it. All right? Even if it takes you a while to get listeners. Sometimes a couple of these episodes, I don't even have 100 views, which is fine. I mean, I'm not doing this for views. I'm doing this to, number one, really have some kind of therapeutic outlet. This is me being able to just kind of let go of all the thoughts that have been accumulating for the last week, in this case, the last 3 weeks. So it's really more for me than anybody else. But I've discovered while making this that I am seemingly helping others. And everyone's always asking me when the next podcast is coming out. So I'm doing something right, doing something beneficial. So if you're thinking of starting a podcast for whatever it might be, do it. If anything, just do it for you. If you're enjoying it, then who cares? Doesn't matter how many subscribers or views you might get. Just do it because it makes you feel good, Anyway, that's it. It's about 28 minutes and a half. That's a good stopping point. I got nothing else to say. Thank you all for coming back to Positive Reinforcement, the mid-season premiere. Episode 15, I think. It might be 14. I don't remember. I think it's 15. Pretty sure it's 15. Anyway, I'll see you next week. Stay warm. I don't think the sun has been out in Fresno for like 3 days. So it's kind of feeling like I live in Alaska here. But, stay warm and get all toasty and get bundled up. Buy Joker. It's on Blu-ray now. Watch that if you haven't already. Congratulations to Joaquin Phoenix for winning the Golden Globe for Best Actor. And also congratulations to Hildur. Not even going to try to pronounce the last name because it's just so much going on. But she is so talented for writing and composing the score to Joker. Such an amazing soundtrack. Check it out. Anyway, so I'm done. Have a great week and a great weekend. And January's here. 2020. Welcome. 2020. I love you all. Good night. We'll see you soon.